Hi Year 9, welcome to the presentation for Year 9 options for the subject of Geography. I'm Ms Flanigan if you don't recognise my voice, and I'm going to talk you through some of the reasons here why I think Geography would be a great choice for your GCSE options. So my starter slide is just a few key quotes that I think should be quite encouraging to study the subject further. We've got why choose GCSE Geography up at the top, and first quote says, "Geography helps us to think more intelligently about ourselves, how to live, and the futures that we may need to face." Second one is a quote by the famous Michael Palin, who you may be familiar with. He says, "Geography students hold the key to the world's problems." I think that's a lovely quote, talking about how someday, if you've got the subject of geography under your belt, you could be able to solve some of the bigger issues the world is facing. And the last one here, geography is a study of Earth's landscapes, peoples, places, and environments. It is quite simply all about the world in which we live. So if there's something that you're enjoying in school, the chances are you can probably relate it to geography one way or another. It encompasses a lot within the subject. So let's keep going. The first question that I get asked every year about GCSE Geography is what actually comes up within it. What are the core bits of content that you'll see? So toward the end of the presentation, I'll talk about how you're assessed, but I'm going to talk you through the content of paper 1 for now. And this one is all about physical geography. So the question that follows is also, will there be bits of physical and human? Because I prefer this or I prefer that. The good news is there's a little bit of both. It's quite nicely balanced. So in paper 1, you will do tectonic hazards, which is your earthquakes, your volcanoes, hurricanes, and so on. Quite an interesting one. Rivers and coasts, classic textbook geography, and from year 8, even year 7, you've got a little bit of knowledge there already. Ecosystems, all about the living world, whether it's under the water, on top of mountains, in cities themselves. There's loads there we can look at. And the last one, weather hazards, probably quite key at the moment as we're looking at some snow due this week, I think. So all sorts of hazards we can have as a result of the weather. Paper 2 then, I talked about there being bits of human geography involved as well. This is where these 4 come in. First one, resource management. So that one looks at things like, where is the water of the world? Where is the food of the world? What are the problems with spreading it evenly? And so on. Topic 2, populations in the UK. So we'll look at where people live. Are lots of them in the north or lots in the south? Why is that? Are they moving? Are the trends the same as they were 100 years ago to today? So quite topical, especially being someone who lives in the London area. Development. So you might have seen this picture before. I love looking at this one. It shows a really huge difference between 2 neighbourhoods in Brazil. One on the right looking significantly wealthier than the one on the left then. So we're going to look at the reasons for that kind of difference between those 2 areas that are right next door. And the last one, probably my favourite one, we will look at urbanization, which is the study of cities. So we'll look at why they grow, where they grow, and trends generally over the years within which ones are the biggest, which are most popular, and so on. So that's generally the content you're going to look at, the topics. Then paper 3 is a little bit different. So there will only be 3 in total. So this is the final one. And this one is called the paper that looks at skills and fieldwork. Now within that, you're going to look at cartographic skills. So that involves map reading, map drawing. Graphical skills, you'll be drawing graphs, and you'll also be analysing them. There will be quite a lot of numerical and statistical analysis in this paper as well. So something to bear in mind there, guys, because normally you don't think about maths coming into geography, but it does quite a lot, particularly in year 11. There will be questions on a field trip that will be based on a residential field trip you go on in year 11. And then there will be an issue evaluation as well, where you are given a problem and effectively you're asked how to solve it in a geographical sense. So paper 3 is a little bit different in its setup compared to the others, which just have 4 key topics. And just before I move on from that one and we look at the assessment, looking at the 2 pictures there, I've just put in 2 images from the 2018 field trip with year 11, where we went to Studland Beach up in this picture. And then we went to the famous Durdle Door on the bottom here as well. And then, of course, as I've mentioned, there will be fieldwork questions in paper 3 that rely on that field trip. So that field trip is compulsory. You will need to do a 2-night trip away collecting data for that one. What do you need to study geography? So the skills that you should have if you're going to choose this as a GCSE option. You'll need to be interested in the world and how it changes. You should be enjoying watching the news. You should enjoy learning lots of new keywords, enjoy reading graphs, maps, and using data accurately. You must be able to attend the field trip I've mentioned, and keeping a neat folder and being organised is very, very helpful within this subject. Last bit of detail then on the assessment I've mentioned. You already know you'll have 3 papers. One paper will look at all of the physical topics we looked at on the second slide. It will be an hour and a half long, and it will be worth 88 marks, which is 35% of your overall grade. Paper 2 is the exact same, only this time it's asking you about challenges in the human environment, which are the 4 topics we saw on slide 3. It's also an hour and a half, and it's also 88 marks, so 35% of the GCSE. The final paper then, it's Geographical Applications. We've just looked at what it involves, but to keep it brief, it is the issue evaluation, fieldwork and general skills. That one's a bit shorter at 1 hour 15 minutes and just a bit fewer in terms of the marks, 76 marks, and that's 30% of the GCSE. So it is all exam based, guys. I know lots of people ask me, are there bits of coursework that are included? Everything will be in a paper, so 3 of those, including the field trip. There will be no write-up on the field trip. It comes up in the exam. Final slide. I think I've answered what usually comes up for year 9s most often. So what does it involve? How am I assessed? But if you've still got some questions, can I firstly recommend that you type in Going Places with Geography into Google, and you'll see this come up in your browser. And this document is so useful because it talks you through the range of careers you can have if you study geography. It talks you through a few of the case studies that might come up, and it generally should give you a little bit more background in terms of how you might find the subject, what might be involved, a bit more depth. And then finally, of course, guys, as always, can we encourage that you come and speak to a teacher in the department if you've still got questions. And while we're not in school, of course, if you want to send your current geography teacher a message on Google Classroom, they'll be happy to get back to you. So I hope this was helpful and that we see you soon.